Hello everyone, and thank you very much for stopping by and returning to the old world. Today, my final game of Warhammer 40,000 9th edition as I wrap up my entry for the local league. So this time it was the Dark Angels that were going to feel the wrath of the Salamander successor force that I'd taken, and the game we rolled up was Tide of Conviction. My opponent, with the Dark Angels, force consisted of a big blob of 10 Terminators, a couple of small units of the Super Terminators, and a whole bunch of fast things. Load of Black Knights, 10 of them I think, 2 units of 3 attack bikes, a smattering of special characters, and a couple of units of infiltrators. As for secondaries, I had gone for behind enemy lines, which perhaps was a little bit of a brave choice initially, banners, and Promethean Creed. My opponent also took behind enemy lines and banners, going with oaths to round out his selection. So, what happened? My opponent got turn 1 and came flying up the board, taking down the Land Raider Redeemer before it even got to fire a shot. Not the best start. I was also slightly perturbed by his amount of pace, meaning I was probably going to struggle a little bit for board control. However, he had overextended the attack bikes a little bit. It's something I often do when I get first turn, and they are fairly vulnerable despite the invuln saves that Dark Angels can put on them, and I was able to kill both units of 3 attack bikes with their melter guns in return for the Land Raider. Turn 2 saw my opponent getting 12 points on his primary and in a really solid position, having pushed up to dominate the centre of the board. Black Knights pushing on my right flank, and 1 unit of his special Terminators rolling up in my backfield. I also lost 1 of my attack bikes and a Venerable Dreadnought. For my turn 2, the Assault Intercessors on my left flank pushed up to try and really pressure his flank. I managed to also take down the Talon Master, the Special Terminator squad that had come down in my midst of my backline, got blatted off the board with a load of shooting, as did quite a few of the Black Knights on their bikes. Turn 3 wasn't a great one for my opponent. Some more Terminators came down. The special ones, that is, a unit of 2. 1 attack bike died, but not a tremendous amount happened, and it was starting to feel a little bit like this might be a feel bad sort of game, as the 2 Terminators that had just dropped got cut down. My Assault Intercessors charged forward into a unit of infiltrators to take 1 of the objectives in my opponent's territory. A lot of Dark Angels were starting to fall, but it was looking close on the scoreboard. Turn 4 saw a unit of infiltrators that had started on the board and then slipped off into reserves, making a return to the board. Fortunately for them, that triggering an Auspex scan assault, which cut them down before they had a chance to do anything. We had a discussion around that. My opponent then made the choice around sticking the infiltrators where we did. So at least it wasn't a gotcha from that perspective. But as I say, it was starting to feel a bit of a feel bad moment, even as the 10 Termi blob, which had started on the board, rolled its way up the centre, clearing me off of the Promethean Creed objective. He really had, at this point, a really strong fix on the centre, and I took the decision really to ignore that and was working on the basis that I had quite a bit more left alive, so we'll try and harvest points in as many places as possible. And that's pretty much what happened then over the rest of turn 4 and turn 5. I pushed into his rear lines in order to try and get as much I could for behind enemy lines. Shot a few things up, and just generally tried to nick as many points as I could. Going second in this scenario was absolutely huge, because it did allow me in my turn 5 to jump on a bunch of objectives, including a couple that were in my opponent's deployment zone, by scoring me a bunch of extra points towards the primary. So, final calculation, and it turned out to be a hard-fought victory for the Salamanders. I picked up a 72 points to 70 win, albeit maybe that score's not entirely accurate because I think I've misread some of my own handwriting. However, the only thing that would change if my scribbles aren't accurate is the number of points that I picked up the win by. There might be an extra couple of points floating around. But overall, yeah, I'm happy to have finally picked up a win, albeit one that puts the Dark Angels at the bottom of the table with one draw from their 5 games. It was a good game. It was close. The scoreboard was constantly ticking up for both of us, and that really helped, despite me being concerned at one point that it'd be a bit of a feel-bad moment. And I was definitely getting the dice rolls that had the dice rolls from the big moments in this game been this kind of dice rolls I was getting in previous matchups, I think it might have made quite a difference to some of those scores. They probably would have been a lot closer. But yeah, a good game, well-spirited, and really, really close when it came down to it. So 2-point difference between the two armies. And I think that's a really great way of ending 9th edition with a close hard-fought game. Certainly making a change from a lot of the spankings that seem to take place. So next up for 40k, there'll be another league. I'm not sure whether I'll do videos on those. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. That will all be under 10th edition, coming out very, very soon. If you like this series of videos and enjoy my thoughts on Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer Fantasy, or just me trying to improve myself at the hobby, then do consider subscribing and dropping a like for this video. It all helps. I'm Return to the Old World. Have a great day.